If you're about to be traveling in Europe and you're planning to use the train system heavily, you've probably come across the question, should you buy a Eurail Pass? And if you're wondering that and you're in that situation, then you're on the right video, because I'm about to give you all the information that you need to know whether or not a Eurail Pass is right for you. A few years ago, our family was in Italy, and on that trip, I filmed a bunch of videos about things that you can see and do in Italy, places you can go, how to get around the country. And one of the best videos that I filmed was how to use the train system in Italy. People have been watching that video like crazy. It's gotten way more views than any of the rest of them. And to this day, even though that was a few years ago, it still consistently gets more views every single month than any of the rest of my videos. So it's safe to say that that is a very hot topic right now for travelers, is how to use the train systems in Italy and in Europe in general. A big question that I get from people though is they'll send me messages and say, I'm going, here's what my trip is going to look like. Do you think I should get a Eurail Pass? That seems to be the biggest question that pops up. So that's why I'm doing this video today, is to answer that question for you, or at least to help you be able to answer that question for yourself. So if you aren't familiar with them, first of all, what is a Eurail Pass? So Eurail and Interrail, that's two words that you'll hear a lot whenever it comes to train passes in Europe. The major difference between these two is Interrail is made for EU citizens, whereas Eurail was made for the rest of us. So for most of this video, I'll be using the term Eurail, but just know that if you're an EU citizen, you'll be using Interrail. Besides that, they're really similar. They work basically the exact same way. Eurail passes are sold in two different ways. One is for a single country. So you could purchase for Italy if that's where you're gonna be traveling, or France or Spain, or wherever it is that you're going. You can also purchase a global pass, and it doesn't cover the entire world, it covers Europe trains. So you would be able to travel, from Italy. Let's say you wanted to go from Italy and you wanted to cut through Switzerland and go to Frankfurt in Germany. You would need a global pass because you would be crossing borders. If you buy a single country pass, you cannot cross over a border, but you can use it on just about any train within that country. When you purchase your pass, whether it's global or a single country, the pass is sold in blocks. So you would purchase for either a single day, or you would purchase for maybe 3 days or 5 days or 8 days or whatever they offer. And typically those are good for an entire month or for 30 days worth of time. Now that doesn't mean that you can use it for the entire 30 days. It means that you can use it however many days you bought. Let's say 8 days. You can use it for 8 days within that 30-day time frame from the time that you activate your pass. So an important thing to remember is you can purchase a Eurail Pass way in advance when you're planning your trip, months in advance or a year in advance. But do not activate that pass until the time comes for your trip, until the time comes for the first day that you're going to be using that train pass. So you will want to purchase it, not activate it. You get there, and your first day to use your train, you go in the app, you activate your train pass, and that starts your 30-day timer. And again, you're not going to get to use it for every single one of those 30 days. You'll get to use it for however many days you purchased in your pass, but that is when the timer starts, is when you activate. So the pass is good for most trains in whatever country you select. So let's say in Italy, the pass is good for basically all the Trenitalia trains, but there were some private trains and things like the Campania Express down in Naples and in the Amalfi Coast region. It doesn't work on those, okay? So you would have to purchase those separately. But for the most part, it will cover most trains, most of your regional trains, most of your high-speed trains. A lot of times you hear those called Frecciarossa when you're in Italy. So it'll cover most of those things. Now, what doesn't it cover? Like I said, there are a few private trains it won't cover. It also does not cover international trains crossing a border unless you have the global pass. It also does not cover your seat reservations like you would need for an overnight train or for the high-speed trains like the Frecciarossa. So the Eurail Pass will work for the ticket portion, but not the seat reservation portion. And that's important to remember, because you might show up thinking, oh, I've got my ticket, I can get on a Frecciarossa and go from Venice to Florence or wherever you're going, but then you get there and they say, no, you don't have a seat reservation, you're not getting on this train. So seat reservations are purchased separately. How much are seat reservations? It really depends. It's kind of like flying on an airplane. It depends on the day, the day of the week, the time, what seat class you're in, the line that it's on, all sorts of things like that. Whatever the supply and demand is, they change those costs. So when we were there, we did use high-speed trains a few times, and I believe our seat reservations were somewhere between 10 and 25 euros each time. So not too expensive. It would have been much more expensive than that if we had to also purchase the ticket portion, but we didn't have to because we had our Eurail Pass. So the Eurail covered the ticket, and then we paid a little bit extra for the seat reservation, and we were able to take our trips. Now, the Eurail Pass did allow us free travel for those 8 days that we had the pass on any of the regional trains. So basically any of the ones that started with like R or RE, those were regional trains in the area. We could hop on and hop off those during those travel dates. And that is a big selling point for me with the Eurail Pass, is that you can hop on and hop off of all those regional trains. If you were to go there and book your tickets and say, I want to take this train to Pisa and then this train to the Cinque Terre, then you would be booked on that train and no changes whatsoever. However, with the Eurail Pass, you can look on the app and say, I'm gonna take this train to Pisa. We're gonna spend as much time as we want there in Pisa, and then when we get ready to leave, I'll pick another train to take me to the Cinque Terre based on our time schedule or the weather or events going on in the region. Maybe there's a festival that you want to go to, or you just heard about, or maybe a festival you want to avoid and so you skip over it. You have that freedom to change your itinerary when you have a Eurail Pass. You don't have that freedom when you're booking tickets for a specific train journey. So how do you know if a Eurail Pass is going to be cost effective for you and your travel party on your specific trip? So there is no easy way to figure this, but I will tell you the easiest way for me to figure it out. So I go on and I figure out exactly where our basic travel itinerary is going to take us, from this city to this city to this city to this city. And I write down each of those things. And I write down how many number of days I plan to be on trains. So, I plan to go from here to here on this day, and then we're gonna be sightseeing here for 2 days, and then we're gonna take another train to a different city. Write down all that stuff so you know this was a travel day, this was a travel day, and these were my destinations, and these were my destinations. Write down all of those things. And then go to a website where you can find the cost of train tickets. I like to use Rome to Rio. You can go there, you punch in your location. The date doesn't have to be exact. You're not trying to get it down to the penny. Just get it like some dates around your travel dates, so you know it's gonna be middle of August when we go. Use middle of August dates, and then start punching in your, where you're gonna be departing from and where you're gonna be taking the train to. And that will tell you about how much the train tickets are going to cost. Now then you can take that information, once you've added up all those, then you take it over to the Eurail website and you figure out, okay, how many travel dates did I need and what time period do I need it for, typically under a month like most trips are, and then you can look at the cost of those. Now they will also be separated by first class and second class pricing. In most cases, second class pricing is just fine. Second class is going to get you fine seats on just about any high-speed train. You do get a few perks of being in first class. Is it always worth the additional cost? I don't think so. But there are some nice perks, some little bit better food and things like that in first class. On the regional trains, there is no class distinction. So even though you purchased a first class Eurail Pass, once you get on the regional trains, everybody's riding together in the same cars. There is no distinction there. So through that whole time, you'll be using your second class seating essentially, even though you paid for a first class Eurail Pass. So unless you plan on taking a lot of the high-speed trains like the Frecciarossa train or whatever they call it in the country that you're going to, I would suggest normally just go with a second class. But look at some real pricing for the Eurail Pass. I punched in the dates in August of 2024. That's a few months out from now, so we're a few months down the road. To get a 3-day pass that will be valid for an entire month would cost an adult $182. And it would cost a single adult to get an 8-day pass $321, and that's in USD pricing. So that's not too bad. Whenever you figure 320 bucks to get all of that travel, I mean, it's not cheap, but it would be 8 days worth of travel anywhere within the country that you want to go. Hop on, hop off, change your itinerary, change your plans, change anything that you want. You've got the freedom to do that. That's a pretty good cost to me. Kids age 12 and up and seniors over the age of 60, they do get discounts, and kids under the age of 11 actually get to travel for free as long as they're traveling with an adult that has the Eurail Pass. So that's something to keep in mind. If you are traveling with kids, you're only going to need to buy for the adults or for the older kids like your teenagers, but you won't have to buy for your younger kids. And if you are a senior adult over the age of 60, then you are going to get quite a bit of a discount on there as well. And you can check all those things out, punch in your party, punch in your dates, and see how much a Eurail Pass would cost you. So I hope this information has helped you know whether or not a Eurail Pass is right for you. I'd love to hear about your upcoming trips. Shoot it down in the comments below. Let me know where you're going, what you're doing. Are you taking the trains? Have you been before? Have you used a Eurail Pass? Did you enjoy it? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching.